Daddy always said that I was very obsessive. He always called me a monomaniac. Of course, he was the king of the monomaniacs, so I don't know why he would say I was like that, but I guess I am. And in later life, I used to reduce it to a phrase where I said, anything worth doing is worth overdoing. So
let's look at Ed Haley and see what you've done here.
oh my goodness. Well,
Let's say give us a taste.
all right. I transcribed a lot of his tunes.
Would you say he's your favorite fiddler?
Pretty much so. Him and Benny Martin. But that's hard to say because I've got a lot of favorite fiddle players. You know, Texas Shorty and Gene Goforth. I just love his music and love what he's doing and or what he did. Now here, this is transcriptions of a lot of his tunes that he played. There's Bonaparte's Retreat with all the different parts on it. No Corn on Tiger and Fire on the Mountain. This is the old time version. Brushy Fork of Johns Creek.
And you wrote all these out. You transcribed them and wrote
I
them
sat
out.
down with the tapes of his records and wrote these out and tried to get all the variation of his Indian squaw. That's why they're all pasted up. Some of them, like for instance, this I didn't transcribe all the little variations. All I did was transcribe the basic tune of it where I can vary it myself. But now, like on Bonaparte's Retreat, this is all the variations that he's got on that particular tape. Come on down in here.
All right.
This is the second draft of the manuscript that we're working on. So that's that. But like all the notes that we made for it, now like this, for instance, here, all this is Ed Haley notes. This is cassette interviews that we transcribed.
Who transcribed them?
Brandon Kirk did a lot of it. This is a lot of our material broken down into like an encyclopedia type of thing, just like by subject matter, with the tunes and there's cassette log in there that I've done. There's Hell Up Coal Holler. There's a picture of the Hicks family and stuff like that. A lot of the Ed Haley story is understanding the genealogy of it. See, Ed Haley's daddy was an old-time fiddler.
Mm.
And he and a guy named Green McCoy in 1889 got into a deal over a log boom and some moonshine whiskey and everything like that. And were hired to assassinate a guy, and they messed it up, and a posse went after him and took him back over on Hart's Creek and lynched him. And it was a real terrible thing. And so we've been very much involved in that and putting together the whole history of how that happened. Hart's Creek is a place down in West Virginia where they have a tremendous history of murder and family feuds and things like that. Here's a picture of Ed right here. This is the picture that was on the. I'll shoot that. This is a picture that was on the front of the Parkersburg Landing album, but this is like an original. The one on the front of the Parkersburg Landing album is like a third or fourth generation. Yeah. So at any rate, all that's Ed Haley, and then of course all this is old we've collected a lot of old photographs and things of family and people that are involved. And
how long have you been into this Ed Haley project?
About 5 years. We call it a lynching for not knowing what a better. It was a mob assassin, a mob killing. But basically what they did was they shot him, and then there was a whole bunch of guys, and they all picked up cordwood and beat him to death so that everybody would have blood on their hands and nobody would talk about it.
Well, they were really mad.
Yeah, they were real mad.
What had he done?
There's Tom Farrell right there.
Mm-hmm.
He had tried to shoot Helena and Al Brumfield. These two guys did, one of them being Ed Haley's dad, and they missed, but they shot her through the jaws
Mm-hmm.
like that, and it's just the fact that they'd shot up a lady
Mm-hmm.
that really got the. But it was all a it was a family. It was like a family feud. I think we now think that it may actually have started over over the fact that their kids couldn't get along in school. That is weird. I mean, it's just amazing the things we've been discovering. Of course. That's Ed's mother, the former Imogene Mullins. Lawrence was telling me, always talking about how Ed held the fiddle. So I took this picture here and made a Xerox of it and colored in behind there and stuck his hand and his fiddle on there to try to see if I could make an approximate.
Mm-hmm.
But this is Ed Haley and his family, and that's his wife Ellen. They were both blind. And this is their oldest son Ralph, who made the recordings and who played guitar on a lot of them. And this is Lawrence. This is the guy that taught that I was able to learn a lot about the bowing from. He's my fiddle teacher.
Yeah. How did Ed support his family? Just
He and his wife were professional musicians. They played on the street.
Mm.
They followed. They went around and they played for what they call big court days.
Mm-hmm.
And they would play at livestock auctions wherever people would crowd up. They used to play at the old railroad YMCA in Portsmouth, Ohio. Ed and Ralph and Ella and in a younger day. This is.
Was there a lot of shame in them being related to him, or was it just they just considered it a family feud? And
it's hard to say. There might have been a certain amount of it there because Ed certainly didn't talk about it. This is Roxy Mullins, and she was about 92, 93 years old when we met her. She's the first one to tell Lawrence and I about the murders.
Mm. Who's going to publish this book?
We don't know yet.
And who do you think is going to be interested in reading it?
I don't know.
You're just doing it.
Right. I'm doing a labor of love. I love it. I guess I'm too close to it to figure out why. It's like you were talking about earlier. It says I seem to get down to minutia real quick.
And did the son know a good bit about it?
Lawrence?
Mm-hmm.
He never heard a word about it. He and I both heard about it at the same time.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You think that would be something people would talk about?
No, Ed never talked about it. There's that better picture of Ed and Ella on the street, and she's got her hand down behind her mandolin, and she's counting her money and getting ready to put it. She had a whole lot of little pockets in her dress. See, they played a lot during the Depression, and they had to get used to the fact that people would put money in their cup and then steal money back.
Oh.
See, because people were so desperate. So they always kept the cup or the hat or whatever they were collecting the money, and they always kept it pretty empty. There's Ed getting ready to strike one. This is a good view of how he held the bow. I got a lot out of that picture right there. This is before Lawrence was born. Ralph.
Looks like you've pasted these up on the back of old Nashville
I did.
TNN cards.
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff on old cue cards because after this house we built, I designed all that on the back of old cue cards. This is a young picture of Ed and his first cousin, John Hager, played the banjo. This is taken up at Webster Springs, West Virginia. When I found this picture, I was really taken by the fact that he was wearing a derby.
Mm-hmm. When did you start wearing the derby?
Oh, a long time before I ever heard of Ed Haley.
Yeah.
Look at the original here.
Yeah. Well, where'd you get that?
I dug that out of a smokehouse up on West Fork, Hartford.
Somebody was storing stuff in a smokehouse, or?
It was Peter Mullen's smokehouse, and he moved into a mobile home across the road, and this whole place was full of dirty diapers and clothing and furniture and and bugs and just all kinds of stuff. and it was the smokehouse about as wide as this room and about this deep, and this huge mound of stuff. And there on the back wall, I could see these old pictures, and I had to get them. So I just rolled up. I said, "Okay." So I just crawled up over all this junk, and got the pictures. Of course, I got bit.